Did Michael Middleton ram the gates of Buckingham Palace back in March? On March 10, just days after we saw this widely circulated pap shot of Carol Middleton driving in a car with a female passenger that looked somewhat like Kate, or at least a very bloated version of Kate. Anyway, a couple days after that, we saw this dubious report from an obscure publication claiming that Carol was involved in a car accident that left her seriously injured. And I've already talked about this report in previous videos I've done. Now, whether you choose to believe it or not, this story was reported around March 6. However, here it states that the accident happened Monday afternoon. Now, Monday would have been the same day that the TMZ pap shot came out. So if this is true, then the same day that this pap shot sighting occurred is when she would have met in that accident. Was she being followed? The general consensus is that this is fake news. But it just seems to me that this entire Kate Middleton saga is some kind of through the looking glass situation, because it's very hard to tell anymore what is real and what is fake. And I'm going to get more into that in a bit. But back to this report, it states, a man crashed his car into the gates of Buckingham Palace over the weekend, Metropolitan Police said. The man, who was not publicly identified, crashed into the gates of the royal residence around 2:30 a.m. He was taken to the hospital after the incident. Okay, it goes on to say, inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances that the crash was not being treated as terror-related. Another report states, armed officers arrested the man at the scene on suspicion of criminal damage, and he was taken to hospital where he was assessed and sectioned under the Mental Health Act. Now, this report conflicts with the BBC's, which states that the crash occurred around 2:30 a.m. This one says the crash happened at 2:30 p.m. Now, I don't know if that's an error. However, a third report from the Standard states, the driver was seen on his knees as police shouted, "Keep your hands on your head," during the early morning incident. Neighbors heard a loud bang around 2:30 a.m. on Saturday. However, when you look at the video which I'm about to show you, the arrest is clearly taking place in the daytime. So I'm not sure what happened here. Was this some kind of standoff that took place for hours? Another report said that the man was unnamed. Now, is there anything unusual about that, folks? Their refusal to identify the person who crashed into the gates of Buckingham Palace? Is it common to not release the identity of someone who committed a crime? I don't know how it works over there. Now, let's take a look at the video of the man being arrested. Now, when I look at this, the first thing that occurred to me as they were leading him away is that he is being told to walk backwards. Now, I don't know why he would be told to walk backwards, except for the purpose of obscuring his face and identity. So from this video, we get a pretty good physical description of the man's body. Now, is this Michael Middleton? Well, the man has a full head of hair like Michael. It's not as silver as recent photos of Michael, but it looks like his hair has been grown out and is unkempt, as someone who may be experiencing a great deal of anguish. Now, the brow line looks to be similar, and so does the hairline. Now, if you remember, all the mystery began back in January with the surgery announcement. There were no reports that Kate's family had gone to visit her, and William only made one visit to see her. Now, I've got some thoughts on that, folks, that I'm just dying to get to, but let's continue the comparison here. So look at this man's body and look at Michael's body. These two men look to be around similar age, and the height and body type are also quite similar. Now, I've seen people say that that's not his car, that he drives a Range Rover, but folks, a person can have more than one car. Now, put yourself in Michael Middleton's place. You haven't seen your kid in months, and all you hear from her husband is that she's in the hospital for surgery. Then you hear that she's been suddenly discharged, and you have no idea what happened to her because there are no photos of her being discharged. In fact, there are no photos of her even entering the hospital in the first place. Just stay with me here, folks. Then maybe you find out that your wife's been seriously injured in a car accident, and you know it has something to do with you not being able to see your daughter. And when you try to reach out to your in-laws, who just happen to be the most powerful family in the UK, you get nothing. You get iced out. What do? What would you do, folks? If this was your child and you've been trying to find out her whereabouts from your in-laws, and I don't know, maybe they're giving you a bunch of excuses or just ignoring you altogether, you're at your wits' ends. What do? Would you drive your car into a gate to try to find out what happened to your missing child? I think I would. Now, this guy, Michael Middleton, looks to me to be a sweet and humble man. There is no doubt that he loves his kids. And unlike his wife, he always struck me as not really wanting to be in the limelight. Now, maybe he even found out that because of all his questions, he was being followed. So what does he do? He takes another car, one that's not readily recognizable as his regular car. And so he drives his banger car into the gates of Buckingham Palace, thinking this will get their attention. You don't want to tell me where my daughter is? Now my wife's missing? This will get everybody's attention. Now the police, recognizing who he is, decide not to release his name. And while they're arresting him, they tell him to walk backwards so as not to reveal his identity. Then they section him under the Mental Health Act. And according to the Mental Health Act's website, sectioning is involuntary detention in a mental hospital. So, folks, for all we know, he could still be there. And folks, at this point, we can say in all certainty that there is a media blackout in the UK with regard to anything having to do with the Middletons. Case in point. This was Hugh Grosvenor's wedding over the weekend. It was billed as the top high society event of the year. Now, folks, when you think of these British high society events, who comes to mind? Yes, that's right, Pippa. Pippa never misses a high society event, especially a wedding. Here she is at the wedding of James Mead and Lady Laura Marsham. Here she is at Harry and Meghan's wedding. And here she is at her ex's Thomas Kingston's wedding to Lady Gabriella. This is Miss Society Girl. She's on every who's who invitation list. So what happened now? Does all of Kate's family have cancer? Why does it seem like the entire Middleton family has been erased? Starting with Kate, and which, by the way, extends to the two younger kids, because they haven't been seen either. And folks, speaking of Charlotte and Louis, this was William speaking before the England national team ahead of the Euro tournament in a pathetic attempt at a pep talk.
Put you in a way. I was on the school run this morning with the children, and I said, what should I say to the England team when I see them today? And the best bit of advice I got to ask you was to eat twice the amount you normally would eat. So I then had visions of all of you running around like massive great tummies and loads of stitches on the pitch.
And folks, the nervousness being betrayed from his body language speaks volumes. Now here he is claiming that he did a school drop-off and that Louis gave him advice to give to the squad about winning. Now look at him as he's saying this. Look at his hands. Listen to how he struggles to get the words out. He is clearly lying.
Gareth, what could I say that could help kind of put you in a way? I was on the school run this morning with the children, and I said, what should I say to the England team when I see them today? And the best bit of advice I got to ask you was to eat twice the amount.
This guy just gives himself away every time. Now let me ask you something, folks. This guy knows damn well that there are deafening whispers about his two younger children and that they haven't been seen. And if he was really doing school drop-offs. Now, remember at one point they tried to claim that Kate was doing school drop-offs. But considering the fact that these children haven't been seen, and you know that the lifeline of any paparazzi is to get that money shot, don't you think by now we would have seen a shot of the kids being dropped off? Here's a shot of Kate doing a school drop-off back in 2018. So the paparazzi are very capable of getting these shots of school drop-offs. Now, someone in the comments tried to say that they are respecting privacy. Now, don't make me laugh. The British press is the most sensational and tabloid press probably in the world. And are you trying to tell me that somehow they've all had a come to Jesus moment and suddenly they've decided it's time to renounce their professions in order to respect privacy? Are you really this daft? First of all, William would kill. Well, maybe that's not the right phrase, but William would give anything for the paparazzi to publish a picture of those two kids just to take the heat off of him. And since they haven't been able to do that, means only one of two things. He does not have access to them, or they are gone. And folks, every time I look at this guy, I see guilt written all over him. He has the unmistakable dark aura of guilt. Guilt for something he did. Something really bad. And he may think he's gotten away with it. Here he is today on his way to one of his airshot things, posing for the camera, looking like a single man on the prowl. Look at him. He actually thinks he's gotten away. Now, we keep getting these reports in the press that Kate's been spotted over here and Kate's been spotted over there. This one claims that Kate's been spotted watching the kids do sailing classes. Of course, the photograph they used is another old photo from back in 2020. And I'm sure, folks, you've all heard this report by now that Kate's been spotted at a Houston clinic for cancer treatment. And folks, is it just me? Meaning, am I in a bubble here? Because I just find it so incredible that people are actually giving credence to these so-called sightings that have no photo evidence whatsoever. None. Zero. Zilch. Apparently, when Kate is sighted, people's cell phone cameras just suddenly stop working. I don't get it. And please spare me the privacy nonsense, because paparazzi make a living from shots of celebrities. And one shot of Kate right now would literally pay off somebody's mortgage. So please, if you want to kiss these people's asses and cover for them, then go right ahead. But don't insult our intelligence by saying this is about privacy. The British press is notorious when it comes to invading privacy. And the fact that we have had no photo evidence whatsoever, never mind the fake shit that even they seem to be embarrassed about now because they don't even bother to bring it up anymore. But we have had no photo evidence, no proof of life of Kate, of Carol, of Michael. Pippa is no longer invited to these society weddings, or maybe she was invited, I don't know, because she's gone too. So it's one thing to say, okay, the British press is clearly under orders from the British royal family to black out the Middletons from the public. But does that also extend to private citizens with cell phones? Folks, who are these people who are claiming to have seen Kate and the kids, but somehow we're supposed to believe that they didn't take a picture with their phones because they didn't want to invade her privacy? Now take a look at this individual I came across. Lying, making a complete ass of herself.
Before anyone asks, I didn't take any pictures or any videos. I had my 2 children with me, my 10-month-old and my 5-year-old.
Now she claims she saw Kate shopping and she didn't want to take a picture because, folks, she's respecting her privacy. Take a look.
Clothing store that is in England, and as I was heading up to the doors, a lady was coming out of the shop and she was on the phone.
Now, folks, riddle me this. If she didn't want to take a picture of Kate because according to her, she's respecting her privacy, then why is she on social media claiming that she saw her? According to her, she didn't take pictures because she's respecting privacy, but yet she's on social media talking about it, giving away the location of the person whose privacy she's claiming to respect. It's called logic, folks. A few weeks back, they had some guy claiming that he saw Kate over a fence playing with the kids. And I mean, really, have you seen these properties? There are acres and acres that separate the royal residences from any surrounding property. So all of these reports of average Joe citizens claiming they've seen Kate and the kids look to me like a coordinated PR strategy coming straight out of the offices of Kensington Palace. So, folks, by now we've all heard that pretty much Kate will not be attending Trooping the Color, although there are some reports claiming that she's planning on making a surprise appearance. Now, this just tells me once again that they are deliberately trying to confuse the public. And I'm sure you've all seen by now this error-ridden letter claiming to be written and signed by Kate addressing the Irish Guard. Now let me think. Who do I know has a nasty little habit of making claims on other people's behalf and forging their signatures? Oh, that's right, William. William again. Is there no one on his team to tell him to just stop? To lay low? That all his efforts are just making him appear more guilty? Does anyone really believe that Kate wrote this letter? What does this remind you of? That's right, the Mother's Day apology letter also claimed to be from Kate, throwing her under the bus. Anyway, let me leave this here. I'm going to have to save all the other stuff for my next video, where I am going to explore why I have serious doubts about the whole surgery story in the first place. Because, folks, more and more I'm having my doubts that she was ever at the London clinic. And of course, you already know that I think the whole cancer thing is a load of shit. So, folks, let me leave this here and tell me what you think. Do you think Michael Middleton crashed the gates of Buckingham Palace earlier this year in March, just days after these consecutive reports of Carol Middleton? So let me know what you think while I work on the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.